This video is brought to you by True Tales of Buried Treasure, the largest collection of old treasure magazines in the West. We're pleased to announce that we are now selling our physical magazines directly on our website. You can browse by magazine title or search for a particular issue using the search bar. To pay us a visit, please click the link in the description. Enjoy. Ever since I bought my first metal detector, I've dreamed of discovering a site rich in Civil War relics. The war left behind countless opportunities for artifact hunters, if you can find spots that aren't protected as government parks or completely picked clean. As many Civil War enthusiasts know, North Georgia and Southeast Tennessee are prime areas for relic hunting. But to my surprise, I also uncovered a promising site in Florida, a little-known location near Cedar Key on the Gulf Coast, where a skirmish known as the Station 4 battle took place. Of course, this battle doesn't compare in scale to Chickamauga or Chattanooga, but when I visited with my detector, I recovered some fascinating artifacts. That's when I realized treasure hunting isn't always about gold and silver. It can also mean unearthing a piece of history, whether it's an old button, a glass bottle, or any relic that connects you to the past. I hadn't imagined the Civil War reaching so far south into Florida, but it did. Several battles were fought there, something I only learned while researching material for a book I was writing. Treasure hunting, I've come to understand, is only half fieldwork. The other half, just as essential, is spent in libraries and museums, poring over records, photographs, and woodcuts that point to forgotten locations. Without that research, many of the best sites would remain hidden from view. It was during a visit to the library that I first came across information about Station 4. That was the moment I realized this could be a promising site for Civil War relic hunting. My research revealed that the Station 4 battle lasted nearly an entire day, involving heavy gunfire and close to 1,000 troops. Digging deeper into the Civil War records of 1865, I found journals in the archives of the Florida Library and the Florida State Historical Commission in Tallahassee. Here's what I uncovered. On February 13, 1865, Federal Admiral Stribling reported to the Navy Department in Washington that the U.S. schooner Matthew Vassar had captured the English schooner John Hale. He also described how the tenders Fox and Stonewall, serving the Stars and Stripes, destroyed a Confederate salt works. Around the same time, Captain Dickinson received a dispatch from Captain E.J. Sutterlow, who reported that Federal forces had landed a substantial number of troops at Cedar Key under the protection of gunboats. From there, Union soldiers advanced inland. Some had reached Levyville just northwest of Cedar Key, while another part of the command was moving toward nearby Lake City. Confederate headquarters in Tallahassee ordered Captain Dickinson to advance against the Federals who had moved inland from Cedar Key. He was instructed to strike their rear if possible and harass them until General Miller could arrive with reinforcements from Lake City, with 52 men from Company H under Lieutenants McCardle and McGaddy, along with 20 men from Company H of the 5th Battalion Cavalry under Lieutenants Haley and Haynes, and supported by a single 12-pound howitzer. Dickinson quickly saw that cutting off the Federals entirely would be impossible. Near sundown, his force reached Station Number 4, located about 4 miles behind the Federal lines. At daybreak the next morning, reinforcements joined him. Captain Sutterlow with 18 men from an outpost and 37 militia under Captains King, Dudley, Price, and Watterson. Altogether, Dickinson commanded about 160 men with some artillery. Soon after, a courier reported that General Miller was still nearly 50 miles away on the road from Lake City. Convinced that the Federals would eventually retreat toward Cedar Key under the protection of their gunboats, Dickinson chose to strike immediately. Confederate estimates placed the Federal force at 600 to 700 men, 2 regiments of both white and black troops, well positioned behind the raised embankment of the railroad. Dickinson deployed a picket line on his right, then advanced with 142 men until they came under fire from Federal pickets. His men dismounted, exchanged volleys, and then pressed forward, driving the Union troops back. Though the Confederates were short on ammunition, supply wagons arrived just before nightfall, allowing the fight to continue sporadically into the evening. I could picture the scene vividly. Early the next morning, Confederate scouts at Station 4 discovered that the Federals had slipped away during the night, retreating back toward the coast at Cedar Key. Their attempt to push inland along the railroad had failed. According to one old newspaper account, the slaves, horses, and several hundred head of cattle, with other valuable property, were captured and returned to their owners. The same paper reported the enemy's loss was 70 killed and taken prisoner. We had 6 severely wounded. 3 of these gallant young soldiers, Joseph C. Prix, Edwin Lengle, and John M. Johns, never fully recovered from their wounds. Reading those yellowed pages from 1865, it felt as though the shots had been fired not over a century ago, but only yesterday. The Station 4 battlefield proved to be a rich ground for relic hunters. One man unearthed a badly deteriorated yet beautiful sword with a homemade detector, while another discovered a pistol barrel and musket near the old railroad bed. Black glass bottles, uniform buttons, mini balls, and even coins predating the Civil War have been recovered from the site. I myself found many artifacts at the Cedar Key location. Several of my discoveries from Station 4 now fill display cases in the Historical Museum of St. Petersburg, where they remain on view to this day. After the war, Cedar Key quickly grew into one of the nation's largest exporters of cedar products. But prosperity was short-lived. The cedar forests were soon depleted, and the boom ended. Today, more than a century later, Cedar Key is once again drawing people's attention, no longer for its timber or its battles, but for the way it has preserved its heritage. Visitors now come seeking quiet weekends, drawn by the sense of history that still lingers in the air. If you ever decide to try your luck at Station 4 or at any other Civil War battlefield, remember that relic hunting requires patience. When using a metal detector, keep in mind that mini balls, buttons, and similar artifacts are rarely concentrated in one spot. Instead, they're usually scattered across the ground, which means you'll need to work slowly and cover every inch of the area with care. At the Station 4 site, nearly all of my finds were spread out, with no 2 lying close together. On another occasion, however, I happened across what had once been a target practice area, where bullets had been fired in such great numbers that I recovered hundreds of spent rounds left in piles by the troops. Generally, at most Civil War battle sites, relics are found just a few inches beneath the surface, often only 2 or 3 inches deep, and rarely more than a foot. That shallow depth makes the search rewarding, but also requires thorough, methodical sweeping to avoid missing pieces of history that still lie waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.